Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Full 40 with Chris, Trevor, and Willie, presented by Homefield. I guess the Full 40 is presented by Homefield. We're not presented by Homefield, but, here we are. It is the day before Valentine's Day. I think we're all feeling pretty loved by the Villanova Wildcats, and by loved, I mean in a toxic relationship. But we're on an upswing right now. We had a good Sunday. We had a good Super Bowl Sunday. How are we feeling, fellas?
I love the toxic relationship analogy.
I was wondering where you're going with that because I was like, this is not a healthy relationship that you're describing.
It's like one of those things as a toxic relationship. It's like you can just hear the abused woman in the relationship being like, no, he's changed. He's different now.
Yeah. Villanova basketball would never hurt me.
Yeah. He makes every shot now. Now he's okay.
Well, we did win a game. So that's a positive start.
But first, we lost again.
I literally blanked that out of my head. To be so honest.
Yeah, but it's impossible to prevent this, says the only team who this consistently happens to. Starting, well, I guess we'll talk Xaiver first. Starting on our patented 0-8 run to start the game, 0-9. I don't think it was a kill shot technically. I think we got some points scored before that happened, but and then obviously we clawed our way back into it and took a lead because that's just Villanova basketball these days. And then back and forth, and as fate would have it, we had 18 seconds, 19 seconds, the ball and a timeout, and then they just ended the game.
The thing is, like when you have 18 seconds to ball in the timeout, you always get a shot up. Like that's just it's never in the history of basketball.
I turned the game off honestly at that point because I was like, oh, we got that. We're gonna get a shot off. It's
win or lose, we're getting a shot off.
We have plenty of time, a timeout. We had the right lineup on the floor. Nobody was too gassed to be out there or make bad decisions, and obviously, the ball was in the right player's hands at the end of the game, and he made a play.
That's how it goes. But to actually talk about this for a second, what's so funny about this is I wasn't even pissed that we didn't go quickly. I thought we could have.
I wasn't mad about not going quickly. I was mad about not getting anything.
I actually understand the logic right now of just going for the tie. I probably would have gone for two. This is literally the classic situation. Do you go for two? I was 18 seconds left, run to the basket, go for two. Who knows if they're gonna make it? But I was you know what? I don't hate this. I hated every other thing that happened on that play. Hazen was talking about the failed elevator screen, which I love that play. It's a great basketball play. The first time I started to learn about the elevator screen was it's what the early Warriors ran a lot with getting Klay Thompson open on the corner. So I was oh, this is such a cool play. And Hazen is not Klay Thompson as much as I think he's the top 100 shooter in the world. Q Brian coming in and yelling at me.
Is Klay Thompson a top 100 shooter right now? That's
that's the real question.
He is Klay Thompson. Yeah. Just 34-year-old Klay Thompson who can't close games anymore. We digress, but
he can't close games. Hazen can't get a shot up. And it was just it was one of those situations where I think to give credit where credit's due, Xaiver played good defense on it. They forced our hand. I just thought at a second honestly, I thought Hazen was just going to chuck it from half court. And I was honestly, fine, I'll take it. It was a busted play due to Xaiver. Frankly, Xaiver did a good job, but it was just the lack of someone has to get a shot up. We have 6 seconds left.
Xaiver was laughing at us in the post-game presser, and they should have been. It was awesome.
you've got to at least throw the ball. You have to just literally.
No, you don't. You don't.
Like, how do you not just be like anything? It's insane. That was absolutely outrageous.
The Knicks just had that happen to them yesterday. Aaron Holiday had a stupid shot, just threw the ball, and Brunson fouled him, which is actually being protested.
They're protesting that.
They're protesting it. But hey, Aaron Holiday was like, well, I got to get a shot up at the very least, and it gave the Rockets the win. Something like that. Xavier player closes out too hard, and okay, well, Hodgson's at the line shooting 3, or Dixon's at the line shooting 3. Outside of that, how did we feel about the game? Outside of the poor execution.
So here's the thing that's bothersome to me. Is that I actually thought Neptune coached a pretty good game. First off, Miller's done a great job with that team. The fact that they're even in the bubble conversation after the start that they had, after all the injuries they've had, is a credit to his coaching, right? But he's got that team to commit to defense, which no one on that team played defense last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys weren't even playing or on the team. So he's managed to turn that season around by evaluating what his talent is, saying there isn't a whole lot of offensive talent. I'm going to get these guys to lock in on defense. He's turned them into a really good defensive
Sounds like
unit.
Somebody I know.
Yeah, fair. But except we were theoretically supposed to be good on offense. But then it was a knock them out, drag them out game.
Yep.
And the game wasn't lost on that final play. The game was lost on the fact that our players can't make a fucking layup. And that was it was outrageous. I mean, Dixon was 7 for 17, or something like that. I put this on the Twitter account, but we were something 11 for 31 overall shooting by the 5th-year seniors. So And I included Hakeem Hart in there, but he actually raised that because I think he was 3 for 5. But more, we might need to have a conversation about. But more Eric Dixon and I'm forgetting
Burton
and Burton were a combined 8 for or something less than 10.
We were 7 for 17 with shots at the rim at one point. I remember.
Yeah, we finished 13 for 26, which 50%. 50% is not good at the rim. That's below average. You're looking at at the rim, I'm shooting 60 plus, 70% elite, 60s you're good.
Right.
We shot 13 of 35 from 2. If you told me that we shot 13-35 from 2 versus Xavier, I was like, oh well, we lost by 24. That's just what I.
Right.
Yeah.
And we hung tough. And I actually felt, and this is not going to be popular because everyone wants to shit on him at the moment, which I'm cool with that too, because at some point in time when you lose enough, you lose. Right? That becomes yeah, exactly right. That's you have to blame the coach, right? At some point in time you have to come to that. But when it happens, especially over the long stretch of the season, right? But in a microcosm of this game, the coach was failed by his oldest, most experienced guys who couldn't make a bucket.
Yeah.
And look, I look at Eric Dixon and say, okay, that's a one-off, right? He's been really good, right? Justin Moore, as I said, he's clearly lost. I think on the last podcast we said he's lost a step. He's not right. He's a little bit beyond that.
He lost another step in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my legs are better than his right now, which is bad.
I'm hoping that he's bottomed out a little bit, maybe we're just getting him rock bottom and he's going to start an upswing because even if he can give 30-40% more than what he's currently giving, which is maybe 30% of him. So if he could be 70% of Justin Moore like he was at maybe last season.
Yeah, if he gives us what he was last season with this team, it's better.
It's a massive improvement. Yes.
Yeah, I think since coming back from the knee injury, he's averaging 6 points a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what he scored against Seton Hall, but I think it was around that.
UConn was his only impact game.
Yeah.
One thing to call out, Chris, with something you were saying is Kyle, I'm gonna get panned here, has kind of coached 5 decent games in a row. Since St. John's, and honestly, I don't even know if I blame him in St. John's, but like there was just like kind of a crap effort across the board. But like I'll take that. Since St. John's, Butler, like it was a good coached game. It started. We just stopped executing. Like so, like Kyle coached maybe like 80% of the game. Like there's definitely like things that he needed to improve on, but like 65.
Give away that lead.
Yeah. But we did such a good job for the first 35 minutes of that game. I was like, Kyle was improving there. Marquette, like, we started slow, but like, there's just, I've seen enough improvement over the last 5 games of Kyle that I think we extend him for like 6 years.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Talk about
where I started.
Taken so far out of context.
That wasn't where I was going to go with it when I started, but then I was like, I'm just going to make this joke right now. But no, I do think he's improved over the last 5 games marginally.
Yeah. Like, and look, I thought, so here's the thing with this team right now, right? Are we the team that won 2 of the last 3? And that one, the loss was a really close, tough played loss at a really tough conference opponent? Or are we the team that's 2 for our last 8?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so therein lies the conundrum, right, of this squad. Like, yeah, we were 2 of our last 3, so that's something.
That first tranche, man. That first tranche kicking our ass.
But what I wanted, it's a shame because I really did feel like the last week of basketball we played like a lot better.
Yeah.
Obviously, the 5 games that preceded those 3 was in that death tranche that we died. And so you have that. That was that whole situation was just really difficult. But I feel like we really definitely played a lot better. So, you know, I get what you're saying. But we're now in full blown make or break time. And, you know, I haven't changed my perspective on this. This team needs to earn an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament for me to be like, okay, let's see another year here.
And I think that's I think that's a good distinction of at-large bid. Now, what's interesting is okay, let's say we get hot and we win the Big East tournament. Something about playing multiple games in a row. Sure, let's say that happens. My question to both of you is, if we split every game and we're 16-16 and then win the Big East tournament, that's no bueno.
Right, but, like you'd have 20 wins.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is let's call it the Georgetown dilemma.
Yeah.
Or the Kevin Ali dilemma. Like, probably wasn't the right guy, got hot, won a championship. Granted, it was a national championship, stuck around longer than he should have. And then was it a scandal or was it like a fake scandal or something? You know, they eventually fired him.
They tried to fire for cause.
Yeah.
And
that's obviously not going to happen. But
because you suck.
Michael
Scott, The Office.
I think the worst thing that could happen is that like we continue our like 50-50 record to finish out the season, and then we string together and win a Big East championship. I think that would be
like with Georgetown when they won that Big East tournament, they got made a 13 seed, which was like truly like a sign of total complete disrespect. If that situation that we just had, that you just mentioned, played out, we'd probably be like a 10.
Yeah.
Which is like effectively a bubble team.
Yeah. Which if we get 18 and 13 and win the Big East tournament, like cool, like that's a separate conversation.
That's a totally separate conversation because then you've done enough to earn your bid on your own accord. And then you went out and got the AQ. And candidly, if we were 18 and 13 entering the Big East tournament, won 4 in a row, and we're 22 and 13, that's actually a really fucking damn good year, right? Like, and
probably end up as a 7 seed.
Probably like a 6 or a 7 seed. Yeah, you're 100%. So because in doing so, you would have had to beat like Marquette and or UConn. So that would be a massive boon, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but not going to happen. I know. Yeah, like, Ryan's saying I have freezing cold takes. That's not one of my takes. I don't think we're going to win the Big East tournament.
Yeah. But the point though that I was trying to make with earning it at large is that the team and the coach did enough throughout the season to make the NCAA tournament, which we stated from the beginning of the season was the bare minimum of expectations. We also asked for Christmas for something definitive, or at least I did ask for something definitive result, this would not be a definitive result, but at least we would have met the bare expectations of the tournament. And to a point that we talked about on a podcast, it was not last time, it might have been 2 podcasts ago. Oddly enough, like after losing 5 in a row and being like really down in the dumps, down like 1 game over 500, like to then take the team and turn it around and not lose the locker room and charge back into the NCAA tournament conversation, that is a reason to say, okay, he's got a vote of confidence for next year. But like, so like it's kind of like the weird like conundrum where he's lowered expectations so much that now he could hurdle that bar.
I mean, we're here and like this is just what it is. These next 7 games will define, I think, or we think should define his Villanova time period. That's just what it is. What happens over these next 7? We finish 18-13. We finish strong, 5-2 down the stretch. I think we're like, okay, we're
all in agreement that 5-2 is the number, right? Like, is that
maybe?
Trevor, you think 6-1?
I think it kind of depends on what happens with St. John's, Butler, and Seton Hall and Providence, some of these other guys, because as we've been seeing, like the middle of the Big East is all fighting for the same bubble spot, I think. And just kind of depending on what happens across the rest of the league, like you have to 5-2? Yeah, we have to beat Providence and Seton Hall, at least one of them at their place. We have to sweep Creighton, and you have to escape Georgetown.
Honestly, I don't want to. We have to just beat Georgetown. That's just what it is.
I know, but I understand that. But
we got to walk out there with
like, yeah, you have to have a definitive wins there. And I don't like the last 2 games at Wells Fargo. Yeah, both coaches have opposing team coaches have come out and said we just got embarrassed. We have to do that to Georgetown both times. I think Ed Cooley's a better coach than those 2 other coaches, but obviously having a worse year. So it kind of just depends for me on what happens with the rest of the middle of the Big East. Everybody's fighting for the same bubble spots, I think.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen is, the full 40 is going to be at the Providence game. This is just for anyone who is curious. That's going to be the game where, like, I think we'll beat Georgetown, we'll beat Butler, we'll lose to UConn, we'll beat Georgetown, hopefully at home. It'll be 3-1. Like, that's the game, like the Providence one.
We'll all be there for like our potential season's funeral.
Yeah, like that's the one. Like, if it's like, because that's going to be a strong win. It's that is going to be a bubble play-in game, realistically. Yeah. Assuming we stay on that, but that's going to be a bubble play-in game where it's like the winner of that.
Yeah, to your point, it also alleviates so much pressure from the last 2. Like, then you only have to go 1-1 in the last 2 games. You don't have to win out, if you will. I'm of the opinion that okay, there's 3 must-have results, and they're all in February. The 3 must-have results are the 2 wins over Georgetown, and beating Butler. I think we have to beat Butler at home. The last 3 games of the season are 2 away, quad 1, quad 2 games, and Creighton at home, who's a surefire NCAA tournament team. So, like, those last 3 games are tough, but you have to, we'll have to go 2-3.
I'm laughing at Willie's reaction to you saying Creighton's a surefire tournament team, because I'm just thinking Willie has been Team Creighton stinks all season.
I mean, yes.
I know we're on Zoom and we can't like make eye contact, but Willie and I just like locked eyes when you said that. We're like, but Creighton stinks.
Unfortunately for Willie's take, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but they're up big on Georgetown right now, and they're going to be at 18-7, and they're safe. They're going to make the NCAA tournament.
They're still frauds. It's okay.
Yeah.
They can be frauds, but they're going to make the NCAA tournament.
McDermott's bolting for a Big 12 job. Everybody knows this.
I didn't say that they were a surefire awesome team. I said they were
no, I know, but
NCAA tournament team.
Yeah.
I'm like eyeing. I got the Georgetown Creighton game up top, and I got on my phone this St. John's Providence game, which is a 5-point game with 19.9 seconds left. So a 3-point game. So let's see if St. John's can get a shot off here.
It's not enough time, man. It's not enough time. You're just lucky it's not 18 seconds.
They did get a shot if they airballed it.
Honestly, would have rather airballed.
They airballed it again.
Oh.
Twice in a row. That's embarrassing.
Yep.
Why even take the shot at that point?
Nope. So St. John's possession was definitely better than ours, but they lost. They didn't hit rim in there.
Yeah, why even shoot the ball if you're not going to hit the rim?
We didn't hit rim either.
We were just working on our shooting percentage.
Yeah. So do we want to talk Seton Hall? Just something like positive here?
Yeah. I mean, the Seton Hall game was that
that was fun.
We asked last week, was the Providence game the best game of the season? And I'll ask again, was the Seton Hall game the best game of the season?
I would like to ask that after every game. Yeah.
Turning in the right direction. You're asking for a contract extension if for the rest of the season we're asking is this the best game of the year? That was a fun game. I still want to see Hausen shoot from like 40 feet, but maybe next time.
Yeah, I mean, just solid game all around. The defense was locked in. It was one of the things where, once again, when you make shots, it doesn't look that bad. Like, I know everyone's like, that's been the thing. Like, we've been like, well, you have to find some other way to win when you don't make shots, which is 100% true. But for a team that's built like us, where for whatever reason, we have a bunch of people who can shoot the ball. All of them have been shooting worse than they have in their entire career. But in theory, they can all shoot the ball. Like, pretty much every person, honestly, maybe except for Mark, isn't a shooter or a shooter in some quote unquote. And like, we went 14 of 30 from 3. Like, you're going to win a lot of games when you get 42 points from the long ball. That's just like the way it works.
Burton had a missed dunk, which, ask anyone I was sitting with, I called it when he was on the breakaway.
It just didn't feel normal. I was like, there's something.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was like, something's not right. This is going too well. Oh, he's on a breakaway? Okay, watch him miss this. And then he back rimmed it.
Awful. We are awful on breakaway, transition, scoring.
But I will say, like, when we play with the faster pace, we look better and the offense flows better. It's and that's something we did against Providence. It's something we did against Seton Hall, and you let the speed boys loose, and they're making stuff happen quickly. And for the most part, everybody looked good.
I will say this: over the course of the last several games, I haven't had the rotation complaint that I had earlier in the season.
That's what I was saying that too. And again, Seton Hall and Providence games both, it was like, this is kind of like a backhanded compliment, but like, I forgot that Neptune was the coach, because there was nothing like ridiculous happening that I was like, why on earth is this the lineup right now? Or like, why do we call a timeout here or something like that? You know, it's just like, and I think it said the same thing during the Bahamas. It was like, okay, like, the machine is working right now, so you don't think about who's running the machine.
The other thing I'll say there is that for as much as there's been some regression of skills from a handful of players, Hausen is markedly improved, or markedly more impactful to winning than he has been in the past.
Able to stay on the floor more. Yeah. Obviously, we're not better defensively with him out there, but he's holding his own, I would say.
Relative to when he's bombing the long ball, if he's hitting shots like he can hit, which he's been doing.
The thing I've liked also, it's not like It's not a lot, but like more than ever, he's been putting the ball on the floor and like also like not. I don't want to say getting to the rim because like that's a loose term, but like he's been. I think he's probably taken at least like 6 or 8 2-pointers in the like since the turn of the year, as compared to like probably like
Just
6.
like 7 more than he had in the beginning in the rest of the year.
He's been opportunistic with that. He's made a couple good cuts,
which is great.
End of Xavier, he had a like layup like right at the end of the game that like we needed to stay like attached. Like
not the very end of the game though.
not the very end.
No, that he made a good cut in the layup on that in that game versus Xavier. Yeah. No,
he actually has a nice touch inside like shocker. The guy that can shoot the ball from anywhere like has a good feel and good touch within the 3-point arc too.
And on the front on the defensive end, there's not like this like the game's too fast for him anymore. No. He might not just be able to stay in front of his guys sometimes because there's guys who are more athletic, have better lateral motion than him, etc. But
he knows where to be.
Yeah, he knows exactly where to be.
And I can't think of like multiple moments where he's just like blatantly getting beaten on this. Like he actually does a really good job of staying attached to his guy off the ball, and he kind of plays pretty decent like prevent defense on that, making sure his guy can't catch the ball. Gets lost on some switches and screens. He has a bad tendency to cut under screens.
Really bad.
It's always him and Lance Ware in the pick and roll, and he goes under. Lance can't get over, and somebody that shoots like 12% from 3 nails the shot. But other than that, though, great defense.
He's got 12 2-pointers this season, and so like
12. 6 of them in the new year. I would wager
at least. There's been some market improvement. So like the bench has also, to the point of the rotation, the bench has just been a little bit better contribution. Like Lance Ware in the Providence game, I know that was over a week ago, but like Lance Ware in the Providence game was like, he was awesome off the bench. That was his best game as a Wildcat, right? Like, so when you're getting better contributions from your 7/8 guys, like you're going to look a lot better. The other guy though, from we talked about Moore. Unfortunately, the guy who is most apt to start in his place or take a lot of minutes in his place has also just been really rough lately, and that's Longino, who is I don't know what to say. Is he doing? Maybe I'll ask that question. Like, is he trying to play outside of himself? Is it like what? You're smiling a little bit.
It's not a smile. It's more of a grimace. Like I don't know what's going on because like we saw him when Justin went out.
Played really well.
Yeah, he took a step forward.
Right.
So I'm like, and I don't think he's playing any differently or trying to play any differently than he was there. And like I know the role's a little bit different. I don't know. Like I can't figure out what's up with Longino.
It's almost like he's doing a Justin Moore impression when he's out there now.
Yes.
Like he correct me, like, stop me if you think I'm going down the wrong path, but like last year and when he found his success offensively, it seemed like it was the pump fake, 1 or 2 dribbles, extended foul line jumper. Like that's kind of his and Mark's shot almost. And now anytime he gets the ball, he does the pump fake, and then he immediately starts to try to back somebody down and score that way. And I think he's like 0 for like 1,000 in those post-up attempts. He had a rough 3-point shooting month. I think he made like 2 or 3 since the new year, it seems like.
I mean, since he came back from the injury, which like maybe he's still a little bit shaky from that. We played 7 games. He has scored 16 points.
Yeah.
Since he came back from injury. So like,
made a 3 this weekend, I remember, but it like, I wonder if it just looks like a bad Justin Moore impression, and Justin Moore is also doing a bad Justin Moore impression. So that doesn't help either, but,
he just doesn't have that. He doesn't have the ball control to be in the paint, dribbling a lot, right? Like even now with Moore kind of being a little bit, below where he wants to be, you can just tell it's all in the legs. It's not in the mind.
Yeah.
Right? Like when he's down dribbling below, he still scores a handful of post up buckets. And he knows how to like use his body and pivot when he needs to create open lanes and also shield the ball. And also shield the ball. Like Longino gets in there and he's on the block, and it's like you're just waiting for the ball to get poked free. And it's almost like you don't want him to you don't want to say to a guy, hey man, just do 3-and-D type stuff. But like he's gonna have to get kind of on that, get off the ball a little bit more, cut, like find open lanes, crash the boards, like shoot when you're open type play right now until he kind of gets a little bit of confidence back. I think it was the Xaiver game, the first one, when we played in the Pavilion where we almost lost it, where he really had a rough stretch down the stretch run of that game. And his confidence has not been right since then. He has not been at all what he's supposed to be since then. And the way Hazen's playing and shooting, straight up taking minutes, which is fine. Longino's a better defender. So, like, I'm rooting for Jordan to get going because for 1 minute on this team, I'd like to see everybody trending the same direction at the same time. I don't look, we played in the last, like we talked about, are we the 2 out of the last 3 or 2 out of the last 8 team? But like if we're talking just the 2 out of the last 3, it's been 2 of our best performances of the season. I'd like to see everyone kind of get in line and kind of build confidence off one another, right? Like a guy who has done that is Tyler Burton. Like we joked about the missed dunk, but he has leveled up his game over the last last 2 weeks by just like making cuts, finding angles, right? Like, and making effort plays. And as we talked about on last podcast, he's actively raised his game because he plays better, he shoots better, he's a better offensive player when he does the dirty work. So
we just need to kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, seriously. Agree.
That's just what it is. Like, yeah.
Right. Let Eric go down low, right? Like let Moore do that when he's got his availability and invert the offense. Play the 2-man game off of Eric, especially when Hazen's in, right? Like that's the type of some simple sets are really going to be helpful for this squad. And then Bamba's been good. I mean,
Bamba's been good. Yeah, he's been great. Been a big fan. Cool.
Break?
Yeah, let's ad break it.
Today's episode of the Full 40 is brought to you by Homefield Apparel. Homefield produces some of the best quality vintage collegiate apparel on the market. You won't find better game day gear anywhere else. Homefield has the ultimate collection of old school logos and looks with the best quality around. Shop t-shirts, crew necks, hoodies, bomber jackets, and more at homefieldapparel.com. Don't forget to use code NOVAINSIDER for 15% off your first purchase. That's code NOVAINSIDER at homefieldapparel.com.
So we talked a little bit of bubble, but do you want to kind of dig in on this a little bit more and kind of, because I posted something about kind of our resume today on the Twitters, and basically what it's got, I'm looking at KenPom again now, I'm refreshing it. Still 34 after whatever handful of games have finished so far, and he's got to
refresh it again, see if it changed.
Yeah. But 34, I think the strength of the BPI is even a little bit better than that. Net's like kind of like 41, which is it's okay. And then, but the resume is obviously battered by the bad losses early in the season. But like looking at the NCAA tournament resume, if you can repair that strength of kind of like the record resume type stuff, KPI, whatever, if you can lift that, it's like I don't know, an average of like 64, which is not good enough to make an at-large. If you could lift that into like 50 with the predictive metrics that we have, you definitely can get in, right? Like people want to argue, oh, this team is in Xaiver, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, if you do the job that you're supposed to do down the stretch, right? Like there is enough there to put this team in the bubble conversation, right? Like
it's a holistic season, and so like there's enough there. Like we have great wins. If you take care of business, you beat Creighton again. Like you have I mean, my feelings of Creighton aside, like that's a good win on paper. Like all this, so I like
NCAA committees don't listen to Willie about Creighton.
Yeah,
they're the best team in college basketball. Especially after they lose to Villanova.
So it's there. It's just like it's there for the taking. Yeah, I like if we go 5-2 and win one Big East game, like I don't think it's even like we're not even a bubble team. Like we're pretty solidly going to be a 10, not like 10's technically a bubble team, but like a 10 or a 9 seed just based on the strength of our wins. Like Texas Tech has looked better. Memphis did look great, and now it's kind of like tanked a little bit. Hopefully they'll even out somewhat. And then like UNC, even though UNC just lost today to Syracuse, like still it's going to be a 1 or 2 seed. Like there's wins here to put us in a position to be in a position. But we have to take control. Like we have to go 5-2. And it's also, and I've said this in our group chat, and I've said this on Twitter, and I feel like I'll say this, keep saying this. It's also what's so frustrating about Penn, Drexel, Kansas State, and Butler. We take care of one of those games, and like if we took care of one of those games right now, we're not even on the bubble. We're on the other side of the bubble. Like it's very clear. Like they're like, oh, okay, there's not a bad loss there. It's no longer, it's just like, it's one less bad loss. Not that Butler and Kansas State were bad losses record-wise, but just like executionally they were bad losses, while Penn and Drexel just were going to stain our record, even though Drexel's kind of frisky.
Drexel might make the NCAA.
Yeah, like Drexel, like
they will be in the tournament.
They have an NBA player in my eyes. Like,
yeah.
So
yeah. Not like I hear you. Like that's the eminently frustrating thing with this team is that you look back and you say, what could have happened? What should have happened? Like, because like there's just so many missed opportunities. But to your point, it is a holistic season. So if we could pull it together, and go down the stretch 5-2, like this, yeah, I agree. Now here's the weird thing, and we were kind of texting about this earlier. There's a world in which you get 5-2. But then you actually make it you get a bye in the first round of the Big East tournament, and then you're in the 4-5 game, right? Because like the top 3 are going to be the top 3 that everyone thought the top 3 were at the beginning of the season. Might be a slightly different order because some idiots didn't think UConn was going to win. But like it's going to be UConn, it's going to be Marquette, and it's going to be Creighton are the top 3. Are they locked and loaded yet? Not quite, but for all intents and purposes, those are going to be the top 3. 4 through 9 remains an unmitigated disaster. I think after St. John's lost today, I think they're now 6-8. So I think that we're a step ahead of them now. I think we're the 8th seed as it stands today. I think as it stands at this moment. But what separates us from 4 is like a couple games. Yeah. So, and we're playing a lot of those teams to finish the season. We're playing Butler, Seton Hall, and Providence still to finish the season. So all of this is going to matter as we come down the stretch. That being said, you absolutely going 5-2 can wind up in the 4-5 game, which I think there's a lot of us who are thinking in their heads, go 5-2 down the stretch, and 11-9 will put us at the 6th seed, and the 6th seed will play DePaul or Georgetown, I guess, in the 6-11 game, and that's the one game to win to make the NCAA tournament to get that 19th game. Whereas, well, now it potentially is like, okay, you're playing Butler or you're playing, Providence or Seton Hall in the Garden on Thursday at 2:30 for the right to play UConn, and that game being what might end up being like a play-in game for an NCAA tournament berth for both teams, right? So, like that's kind of where we're at the moment. It's a very odd situation where like 5-2 could be too good, whereas
Let's not test it.
I hear you.
It's so complicated to try to and obviously nobody knows what's going to happen. I'd rather bank some early, and
I'd rather go 6-1.
I'd rather go 7-0.
Oh wow! Look at you.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in. If we go 5-2, and let's say we even lose, like if we go 5-2, this will probably be the first. This will be our first tournament since 2008 that there's like a legitimate are we going to make it? Are we going to be seeded in this tournament? 2008 we were a 12 seed. I was probably still more confident with that, but regardless, this will probably be the first one. Even 2013, it was pretty clear we were going to make the tournament. It was just were we a 10, 9, or 8 seed, and we ended up being
an 8. We were an 8.
We were the 8.
We might have been the 9.
Yeah,
we were in the 8-9 game. I don't care what the seed is in that game. But.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just if Selection Sunday, which has been either we haven't cared because we haven't been in it, or we've just been we'll see a top 6 seed, or realistically even more a top 3 seed, or 4 seed. Now, if we go 5-2, this will be a Selection Sunday that is going to be actually nerve-wracking, which is going to be so interesting.
Oh man, this team could definitely be in Dayton.
That would be interesting.
Right,
last time we started a tournament in Dayton, we won the whole thing. So
that's a truth fact.
I don't know if it's the last time, but a time that we started a tournament in Dayton, we ended up winning a national championship. So
that'd be a hell of a run. That'd be a hell of a story. Not gonna bank on that one. So yeah. I mean, we've talked about the map, but I guess maybe we can just say it all starts. It's already started, but it all starts again on Friday. And you're walking into a Georgetown team who is currently down 19 with 19 minutes to go in the game versus Creighton, a team that's been, I mean, candidly horrible. They have
one win, and it's versus DePaul, who is horribler.
Maybe the worst major conference team ever.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking about the tweet from maybe last year or the year before. I forget what reporter it was, but it was Georgetown and DePaul legitimately have a chance of going 0-20 in conference play, and it was they play each other's actions. Somebody's gonna win a game.
I like that, but that was wild. That was a wild tweet. I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yeah.
KenPom has us as 9-point favorites. I don't know if there's a betting line on it. Yeah, probably not because Georgetown's still in action. With an 80% chance to win. This has got to be a game where you beat the KenPom spread too. I'll lay that on top of that too. Right? Look, the predictive analytical metrics are. We talked about this: 34 for KenPom, 28 for BPI. That's plenty to make the NCAA tournament. But there's no reason why this team shouldn't blow out Georgetown. There's going to be no Georgetown fans there. It's not going to be a tough environment, etc. Look, does Georgetown have a couple guys who are pretty decent? And if they were surrounded with some actual talent, might be actually pretty damn good players in this league. Yeah. Jaden Epps bucket, right? The guy can score the basketball. Supreme Cook has been pretty good and had some nice has had some nice games. But this and Ed Cooley can scheme you, right? Make it ugly, do whatever.
So that's what I expect, though. Is Cooley to out scheme Kyle and make it ugly. That's so. I don't know if we're gonna beat them by we're gonna beat the spread. One, I don't even know that we're gonna win because who knows how the season's going.
I mean, yes, I get that. Look, I'm going to put in an effort call on this game. This is an effort game, right? You come in game ready. You come in and ready to punch like you did versus Seton Hall and Providence, and we're going to find a way to win this game. You come out and you're slow and you get down early and you make them believe that they're going to be
about the boards, and you're
going to give Georgetown a lot of life in that game. Right, this is going to be a game where you either it's like a 116 or a 314 game in the NCAA tournament where it's you give them a breath of life early and they're going to build their confidence. They're going to engage more in the game. That's how Georgetown season gone. Cooley walked away from a huddle at one point. He's been yelling at his players in the huddle, pay the fuck attention. Right, they've been legitimate mess. So their team is basically all based on like they're going to clock in if they're in it early, and if they get out of it early because we hit them with a big punch of effort, they'll fold. That's why I'm like calling like it. I think the two ways this game is going to end, it's either going to be they're going to beat us, or it's going to be like a 5-point game one way or the other, or we're going to win by 15-20. And I'm really hoping the 15-20 point win team comes out.
I'm just saying, like, what happened to Georgetown, man?
I
Their
mean,
middling coach won a Big East tournament and got extended.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it happened.
They will be better. They'll get better.
Yeah, I know.
Under Cooley, but like this has been worse than.
I thought they'd be friskier than this. Like
he's a rich man though.
But
I think aside from Epps scoring, I'm worried about the rebounding. One thing I took away from the Providence game, which obviously all the emotions and everything built up into that, they got so many offensive rebounds, and we are historic. I mean, we're having trouble with that area so far this season. I think some of these teams that can really generate offensive like St. John's, Marquette, these teams that rebound really well offensively just give us so much trouble because our 25 seconds of great defense turns into having to play 40 seconds of defense, turns into having to play 50 seconds of defense. And eventually, they're probably going to score if you give them enough opportunities. So that's the one thing that I'm like kind of concerned about, other than like getting schemed like crazy and who knows which Georgetown team shows up, but and which Villanova team shows up, frankly. But it should be a dead arena in DC.
I'm choosing to believe that this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I understand the stakes here. Earlier, a couple weeks ago on a podcast, I said we might lose to Georgetown, right? Like, and I know I said that, but I'm choosing to believe that after the last 2 or 3, it's not necessarily even what I'll call hope for an NCAA tournament berth. It's more like hope that this team, that's veteran laden, understands the situation that they're in. Yeah. And the one thing that they cannot do is lose to Georgetown. Like, you can't lose to Georgetown. You beat Georgetown twice. Like, you just have to do it. And if you do nothing else the rest of the season, you have to beat Georgetown twice. And I'm just choosing to believe that is going to come true.
And to be like, I think there's a level of also like, I don't know. This isn't great, but like there hasn't been that run by like an Eric-led team hasn't made a run. A Justin-led team, like I guess technically, 2022. But like there's just a level of like doing it for like your teammates where like, Hausen and Armstrong haven't sniffed the tournament at all. Bamba don't think has played in the tournament yet. Wazoo was pretty bad. Maybe they snuck. I can't remember, but I don't think they've ever been in. Burton had been in, but like it's been a couple of years. Hart's been in, but it's just like I don't know. Doing it for there's just a chance for this team to keep playing basketball together and like talk about wanting to be the best Villanova basketball team that you can be at the end of the season. And like we know this isn't the best team that they can be. Seton Hall was a step in the right direction, but like it's time to like continue to stack steps in the right direction instead of taking multiple steps back, going forward, and then taking more steps back.
Yeah. And look, here's the deal. If we win this game, the other reason why, if we win this game, we get to actually have a bubble conversation with Lucas Harkins next week on next week's podcast. So Lucas has said that he would join us. Obviously, if we lose to Georgetown, I'm not going to have him. I'm not going to bother to have him on because it's going to be like,
don't waste your time, man.
Yeah. It's a double whammy though because we're playing Butler on Tuesday next week. So he comes on. I think we're going to try and do Sunday. I know Brian can't make Sundays, but that's the only day that we really can do it with Lucas. So we're going to try and bring Lucas on for Sunday night, provided we beat Georgetown, to talk about.
Explain to people who might not know who Lucas is.
Yeah. So we've had him on before, but Lucas Harkins, at Hardwired Sports, He's the Field of 68s, or one of the Field of 68s resident bracketologists. I think I forget the name of his website. I'm just drawing a blank off the top of my head. But he has been a top-rated bracketologist on Bracket Matrix for several years in a row. So he is like, honest to God's truth, he's better than Lunardi. He's better than Palm. He's certainly better than DeCourcy.
But Lunardi does the show from his basement in Delaware County.
Yeah. So Lucas does the show from his house in Indianapolis or whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
I swear the only thing Joey Brackett says going for him now is they're like, oh, he's in the bunker, and it's like, I'm in my home in Delaware County.
But Lucas is going to be the best person to talk to, both about the Butler game and the bracketology.
His heat check. I was like, what? I couldn't remember.
I wanted to say 3-man weave, and I know it's not 3-man weave.
Yeah.
I was like he checked CBB. But he does a great job. They do a great job overall. So he's going to be really knowledgeable. He was great a couple of years ago with us when we were talking through. We weren't on the bubble then. We were talking about like seeding, machinations back at that point. So now it's bubble talk with Lucas. And go ahead.
I was going to say, as of right now, he has us in the next 4 out.
Yeah. Right.
With Providence, and then in the first 4 out, St. John's. And I don't see Seton Hall right now.
So beating Georgetown is not going to move us up of next 4 out. Like it's not going to be anything to sneeze at, but it will protect us to stay in that spot. And so that's so.
Yeah, and other teams are going to be losing this week and stuff too, so that'll all shake up. But got to take care of business here.
Yeah. All right. Is it wow time?
Time to get wowed.
Wow.
The Wildcat of the Week this week comes from the 2010-2011 roster. Did not graduate that year, but we're going to be talking about Malik Waynes. Let's talk the Philadelphia Catholic League product, who, fun fact, his name was on my boss's office door at the 76ers because he played for them at one point or was on the roster, and they name all their offices after former players. So I sat across from the Malik Waynes office for my tenure with the 76ers.
He did play with the Sixers. Malik Waynes, one of the Villanova NBA players. He played, I don't know, I'm going to look it up, probably 20-something games. And then he was on the Clippers for a little bit as well. Now, Malik was such a interesting.
Before that, though, yeah.
Yeah. Malik was, it was Sixers first, then Clippers.
Yeah. No, I meant before all that, 1,000-point scorer at Villanova.
Yeah, 1,000-point scorer at Villanova. What was he? He was All Big East freshman team in 2009, 2010. All Big East second team in 2011, 2012, which obviously wasn't a great year.
In 2011, 2012, he was all second team.
Second team. Yeah. He was an interesting case of just kind of he kind of fit the time, frankly, of where that was of Malik, undersized, super athletic, not super efficient, wasn't our traditional Villanova guard, but he was kind of the high, honestly, he was kind of similar to Mark.
He has a lot of similarities.
Yeah, kind of similar.
Not the best shooter.
Yeah. But it wasn't Malik was so interesting. Even though he was here during some down times for us, or down, it was 2 tournament teams and then the terrible 2011, 2012 team. It was, you felt like he was part of the community. It was he was just he was still, I feel generally a beloved, despite maybe had some people didn't love the way he played. I still think people were no, we're fans of Malik. People were pissed that he didn't come back because he left a year early. Or he had an extra year of eligibility.
He'd come back eventually.
Yeah. But people were pissed about that when he did that.
No, you're right. 100%. People were, it was, of that recruiting class, he was the only one that people ever really cared for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just call it space. I think Malik fell victim in that context to who was around him in that recruiting class and who was influencing him in that recruiting class. I think and one of these days, Dominic Cheek's name will get pulled in the Wildcat of the week.
You keep mentioning every time I send a message asking like, hey, what year do you guys want to talk about? You've been picking Dominique Cheek teams. And I've been like, okay, well, we've done James Bell, we've done Mo Sutton, we've done Pinkston, I'm like running out of options here.
Yeah. So one of these days we're going to get to
Dominique to avoid the Dominique Cheek conversation for a little bit longer.
Yeah, but like Isaiah Armwood transferred, and Move ended up being the most beloved of that class. He just was really raw. When he showed up on campus. So he needed a lot of development, but he ended up becoming the most beloved of that class because he kind of had that redemption season in his final year in the 12-13 season when Arch was in and whatever. So Move ended up becoming, but like Malik was a Villanova guard you type of recruit when he came in, and everyone thought that Malik Waynes was going to be the next Kyle Lowry. That was like 100% the conversation when we got Malik to commit to Nova. Was he's a blur, he's fast as lightning. Maybe he's not the best shooter, but he's just gonna blow by everybody. And he's in his quickness and his speed. And here we go. Like Jay's gonna work his magic, and it's gonna be Kyle Lowry 2.0. And that's how everyone thought it was going to be. And unfortunately, I think Malik just kind of caught it in a time whereas Kyle had the governance, the in-team governance and leadership of A-Ray and Sumter and Foy. Waynes caught it after you had great leaders in Cunningham and Anderson left the program. And Scotty was there his freshman year at All-American season, but it was always more of the quiet leader, not necessarily the vocal leader. And Fisher, Stokes wasn't that guy. And Fisher was kind of the guy with his ball in his hands in his second year. I think Fisher had like a little drama with Scotty the year before. There was some challenges there. They've all grown up since. There was like college age people type stuff. And then you throw Jay and how intense he was 12 years ago on the mix of all of that. And you just kind of had a little bit of a nasty recipe. Plus you had Malik Wayne's class who, other than Move, who was a good kid, you had a couple guys in that time frame who were transient, didn't want to buy into the program, etc. And it was just like an awkward time in the program. But Malik was always broadly liked.
And like, I mean, once he was the second team, I mean, he's like, the team didn't go far, but Led was probably like the leader of the 11-12 team. Probably just kind of was one of them. And then like, obviously you had like the youth of like Bell was a sophomore, Hilliard was freshman at that stage. Moof was obviously super valuable. But like, once again, was still like, even though he was a junior, was still kind of like, people were still kind of, I don't know, Moof was Moof. We love Moof. So it was interesting. I mean, Malik was one I'll always remember. And I always look back and like, I love the whole journey of him where like he left, people were pissed. He went to the NBA, kind of had a cup of coffee, was out. Like he played, I think like 2 or 3 seasons technically, but like it was just kind of like
summer league stuff.
Yeah.
Was playing in Europe during the season, would come back, try to make a roster in summer league.
And then for him to come back to the program and kind of like get back reintegrated and like for him and like just like him to talk about, because he's spoken about it, where there's an article somewhere where he talks about the impact of him coming back and like the growth that he's had and what the program means to him. Like that's when we talk about like, all right, like the whole like, all right, what does it mean to be Villanova and all that stuff. Like that's where you see it in the basketball program where like I wouldn't say he lost his way. Like he just did something different. Like that's just all it was. He just decided I'm gonna leave after my junior year. I'm gonna go do something different. And then he did that, and then he came back and he's still at Villanova. He's still at the home here. And like that was like super cool to see, and just like a moment where you're like, yeah, this is important. Like this is like really cool. Malik will always give me one of my favorite moments of just like in a game was that fast break dunk versus Cincinnati. Like he just, I don't know who he dunked it on, but absolutely like yammed it on someone. I remember I was in Connolly walking because like I wasn't sitting down to watch that game. I was doing other stuff. And just like looking through the TV or looking through the glass windows at it and seeing him just absolutely yam on someone. And it was just like, he was fun. That's the thing. Like, even though we were bad, he was fun to watch. He's electric with the ball in his hands. He would slam on people. Like, it was just like, he was great to watch. I'm glad that like we had Malik in the program, and I'm glad that he came back, and now he's at Camden.
He took over for Rick Brunson at Camden, Camden Catholic, or just Camden High School. Camden High School.
I wish we could have gotten like a good story from Malik to kind of end his collegiate career, but I agree that how everything came around full circle at the back end of it was good. I feel the same way about Fisher, by the way.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's been back with the program this year.
And it was one of those things that it was kind of like you could tell that there's like bad blood there. And like Jay has done in the past, like bringing Raleigh back into the mix, bringing, the generations of the teams kind of back together. Those two aligning and having Malik there for that Final Four run. As the player development and student, whatever the title is. But the job Daryl Reynolds had, the job Fisher's currently doing, some of the other guys that have come back. Chris Jenkins did, I think.
Nardi started there.
That's where Nardi started. Yeah. It's it just shows like, they were able to get past whatever issues may or may not have been there. Came back, finished his degree. Successful coaching career started, and just one of those guys that we proudly point to on the wall of the Davis Center as a Villanova guy that played in the NBA and reached the height of the basketball profession of playing in the NBA.
So not many people do. So like even to get a cup of coffee there, it's still cool.
Yeah, his NBA career lasted longer than mine did.
That's only because they blackballed you. That was Adam Silver had out for you. That's the only reason.
Yeah. You talked to Adam Silver and he said, ready to learn Chinese, buddy.
Hope you look good in orange. Because I had to wear high visibility gear for my next job. I was wearing orange. But yeah, he played in the basketball tournament a couple of times of that, I think, losing to Bayheims, according to his Wikipedia. Camden Catholic Camden High School is a power, and I'm sure they will be sending a lot of kids to Kentucky and the likes that we will try to pick up in the transfer portal. So. The next Lance Ware is on Malik Wayne's team right now.
For sure.
I love that. Awesome.
Cool. I think we're wrapping, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Only thing I wanted to call out, it's more of like a quick heart monitor. Just this weekend, All-Star weekend, Jalen Brunson will be playing in the All-Star game. Obviously, watch that. He'll also be shooting the 3-point contest. Check that out. And then also, I don't know how you can watch it, so this is a bad plug, but the G League All-Star game is also happening. Both Jermaine and Colin are going to be in those games. So, support your local Wildcats. We play on Friday. Anything else?
Cats.
Yeah, go Cats. Cool. Well, I think that wraps us up. As Chris mentioned, we'll have Lucas on the call probably on Monday or Sunday. We're still kind of hammering that out, but it'll likely be Sunday. So we'll be back to you within a week. We play the Georgetown Hoyas at Georgetown on Friday. So keep locked and loaded. And as always, let's go Nova.